She is just an amazing performer. She has... Greetings, VC. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and TKR Video Central, your original pop music guru, the OG PMG. Here with influencers. This is a show where I talk about all the people that I really enjoy and how they help shape me as a fan. I'm going to talk about this lady. I've been wanting to do it for a while. And you'd be surprised, I don't have as much by her as some other big fans of hers do. But I enjoy her music. I have a ton of singles, and a lot of the stuff I have on CD, I didn't even get Magic Box ready because I'm not going to really go over those. But I want to go over the earlier stuff and the stuff that I do have on vinyl. She was very popular when I was very small. And I first became a big fan thanks to the TV show and thanks to the early hits in the early 70s, and then went back and found later stuff, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I am talking about the one and only Cher. This is Cher's debut album for Cap. You can still find this. It's a little bit different if you see it on CD or vinyl these days. It's got a black border, and the Cher is shrunk down inside, and it's called Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. When I bought it, it was just called Cher. I was 7 years old when I bought this, which, you know, it's not in the best of shape. It's been used a lot on that original Cap label. This included her first two big solo hits of the 70s, The Way of Love and Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, along with He'll Never Know, Fire and Rain, When You Find Out Where You're Going, Let Me Know, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, I Hate to Sleep Alone, I'm in the Middle, Touch and Go, and One Honest Man. Cher's cover of He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother is one of the best I've ever heard. Not really fond of the original Hollies version. I like a lot of covers of that, and Cher's is the best. Now, at the time, of course, when this came out, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour was just premiering on CBS, and they were best known for all of their, you know, duet work in the 60s. I knew I Got You, Babe. I knew The Beat Goes On. I heard them on the radio when I was a kid, but I really didn't think much of it until I saw the TV show. And Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves I had on a single first before I bought the album, and it was terrific. And this whole album is good, and it helps cement Cher as one of my favorite artists of all time. Her follow-up album didn't do as well on the pop chart, but it did produce a couple of songs that I love, and her versions of songs, which I love. This is 1972's album. I believe that's when it came out. Let me double check the date on that. Yes, I think. Yep. 1972's Foxy Lady. I was never fond of the cover. It's very, very bland. But the music is great. This included Living in a House Divided, which was a great song. It Might As Well Stay Monday. A Song for You. Down, Down, Down. Don't Ever Try to Close a Rose. The First Time. Let Me Down Easy. If I Knew Then. Don't Hide Your Love. And Never Been to Spain. She does a killer cover of Never Been to Spain from Three Dog Night. And she also does, which was written by Hoyt Axton, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And her version of A Song for You fantastic. Of course, I still prefer the Carpenters, but Cher's is awesome. But Living in a House Divided, I thought deserved to be a better hit, and I believe Don't Hide Your Love was the other single off this album. Didn't do as well as the first album, although the show was going great guns at that time. And around this time, I first joined Columbia Record Club. This is where this came from, was my first membership. My aunt talked my mom into letting me have a membership, and I got a special allowance to pay for them every month. But that first shipment, I got 14 albums for a penny or whatever it was doing then. And I actually fulfilled all the obligations of that Columbia House membership, and then quit, and then I would join numerous times over the years to get everything back in. But this was one of them I got through them, and so was the following one. Now, I haven't done a lot of research on this. I think this is a compilation of 2, possibly even 3 of her albums from the Imperial days in the 1960s. This version is called Cher Super Pack Volume 2. It is a gatefold. I'm not going to take it out of the case, but it is a 2-record set on United Artists Records. It includes a number of her solo hits from the 60s. Oops, that's not what I meant to do there. Hold on a minute. I love it when a plan comes together and it goes completely wrong. Slipped out of the sleeve. Sorry about that. This includes Our Day Will Come, The Times They Are Changing, Come to Your Window, I Wasn't Ready, Hey Joe, My Lord, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, She Thinks I Still Care, The Cruel War, A Young Girl, song called Children, The Girl from Ipanema, Old Man River, The Impossible Dream, Cry Myself to Sleep, Carnival, 12th of Never, Like a Rolling Stone, It's Not Unusual, I Want You, I Will Wait for You, Take Me for a Little While, Sing for Your Supper, and Go Now. I'm a bit surprised it doesn't include some of her earlier stuff, but that might have been Cher Super Pack Volume 1, which I never found. But I love the stuff on here, particularly her cover of Our Day Will Come, which I love. And At Times They Are Changing was a pretty big hit for her. So was Don't Think Twice, They're All Right. And her version is about the only cover version of The Girl from Ipanema that I can stand. I don't really like anything but the original by Astrud Gilberto, who we lost earlier this year. But this is a great collection of her early stuff. If you're not familiar with Cher from the 60s, it's a good overview. One of these days I should try and track down Super Pack Volume 1. I'm sure it's probably on Discogs somewhere. Now, of course, I was a singles guy when I was a kid, so I had all of Cher's singles. I didn't have albums. I didn't have the money to get albums. I got the first one I got as a present, with birthday or Christmas money, I forget which. Usually I would get the singles, and when I did get an album, it was usually Greatest Hits collection, and I did pick up Cher's Greatest Hits when it came out in 1975, I believe, and I got that with another, again, with birthday money or whatever. This includes all of the big hits on that front side: Dark Lady, The Way of Love, Train of Thought, Carousel Man, Living in a House Divided, Half Breed, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, I Saw a Man and He Danced with His Wife, Melody, and Don't Hide Your Love. I always adored 2 songs by Cher that weren't that big hits. Train of Thought was a top 40 hit, but it wasn't very big. It peaked in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. And I Saw a Man and He Danced with His Wife was a big hit on the AC chart, but it missed the top 40 by 1 or 2 slots. I think it peaked at 42. Love those 2 songs by her. And of course, Dark Lady, Half Breed, classic songs from her. And the ones I already had, which Way of Love, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and Living in a House Divided. All great stuff, and this got tons of play when I was, I think I picked this up after it came out in 75, when I was just going into junior high, and played it a lot that fall on my tinny little stereo, but it was still a great find. Terrific stuff from her. Then she disappeared for a while. She didn't have hits. She signed with Warner Brothers after she and Sonny divorced, and didn't really go anywhere. The 3 albums that came out from there, I've heard most of them. I've listened to practically everything on streaming, but I've never purchased them. She didn't make a comeback in my eyes until 1979, and I just picked this album up a couple years ago. I only had the single, but Adam had a good price on it at Record Crate, and I grabbed it then, I believe, or maybe it was Dawn and Mary, Take Me Home from Cher from 1979. This was Cher's disco album released by Casablanca, and Take Me Home was a monster hit for her, of course, along with Wasn't It Good, Say the World, Happy Was the Day We Met, Get Down, Love and Pain, Let This Be a Lesson to You, It's Too Late to Love Me Now, and My Song. A great album. It didn't sell badly. Take Me Home missed the top 10 just barely. I think it peaked at number 11. Great album, and she had previously said she wasn't interested in doing disco, but after doing this album, she said how much fun it was and how much she enjoyed the music. It just made people dance and feel good. And this album cover, is one of the classics. Take Me Home, great disco song. Now, after this, of course, she was still looking to do rock and roll. And didn't work out quite the way that she'd hoped for. Earlier, and before this came out in 77, she teamed up with then-husband Greg Allman to do an album called Allman and Woman. Did not do well, did not get good reviews. Neither did Black Rose, the album she recorded with Les Dudek, who was her boyfriend in the early part of the 80s. I remember seeing them perform as Black Rose on, I think it was the Midnight Special, and I liked it. I never did pick it up. It was a little on the hard side for me, but Cher did a really terrific job with the stuff. Critics ravaged that album and didn't like it at all. She came out with a lot of other albums in between that didn't produce big hit singles. They did have a few singles and got some good reviews, but they didn't do well. So she turned to acting. She went to doing movies. She started with Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean in 1982, first on Broadway and then in the movie of the same name with the same cast. By 1987, she was winning an Academy Award for her work in Moonstruck, and she returned to the recording studio for the first time in several years with her second album called Cher. This was on my best albums of 1987, I think, say 86 or 87. Of course, this was her comeback album. Features I Found Someone and We All Sleep Alone. And I got to get the light out for this one because it is really blue on gold. I Found Someone, We All Sleep Alone. The new rock version of Bang Bang with John Bon Jovi. Yike, these are just really hard to read. I'm not going to do that. I can't. It's written in cursive in gold. I don't even think the camera is going to pick it up. Look at that. Can you read that? No, you can't even see it. I'm not going to try, but I'll do it off the album instead, which I should have thought of doing. And that's just as bad. Wow. Side one is I Found Someone, We All Sleep Alone, Bang Bang, Main Man, and Give Our Love a Fighting Chance. Side 2, Perfection, Dangerous Times, Skin Deep, Morning Girl, and Never Enough Getting Over You. There was some terrific stuff on here, produced by Desmond Child with help on certain songs from Peter Asher, John Lind, and Michael Bolton. Really good stuff. And I mean, I have this on CD as well. And I always thought this was a terrific album, and I still do, and that's why I did name it one of my best on Vinyl Recall a couple weeks ago, and I maintain that it is one of her best, and I think the best of her 80s albums by far. Now, I also have later albums on CD. This is all I have on vinyl by Cher alone. I have later albums on CD. I have Heart of Stone. I have It's a Man's World, which is coming out on vinyl later this month. opting not to get it because its price point is a little too high, even though it has a couple of extra songs on it. And I think it's the European mix. The European mix version of It's a Man's World was more rock. When they brought it to America, they toned it down, made it more pop AC, and redid the mixes on it. And so I would like to hear the two versions. I've never listened to them back to back on Spotify or anything. I don't think Spotify has the European version, at least not that I can find. But I love that album where she does songs normally sung from a male point of view, from a female perspective. Her cover of Mark Cohn's Walking in Memphis is stupendously good off that album, as is every cover she does on that. First single, One by One, I have the CD single of as well, and definitely worth getting. Strangely enough, I did not pick up Believe on CD. I do have the single, a digital single, and I have the single of Strong Enough as well. They were both very popular when I worked for DiscJockey.com. They were #1 hits. And it was nice to see her back on the top of the chart for her fourth, major career renaissance, as they say. And she's done it too. I mean, Cher is the only artist who's had a #1 hit on at least one Billboard chart in 5 straight decades. Not even Elton John has done that. In the 1960s with Sunny, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s on her own, and then again in the 2000s and 2010s, she's done it on the dance chart. So that's 6 decades. That's freaking crazy. Nobody else has done that. And I think that's an amazing feat. At the time Dark Lady hit #1, she was the first female artist to have 4 #1 singles, which were, I believe, they were counting I Got You Babe along with Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, Half Breed, and Dark Lady. That's a pretty big feat, but of course now it's, Mariah Carey and, all these other people have done it since then. Sonny and Cher, as a duo, I was never a big fan of the stuff from the 60s. I do like The Beat Goes On. I do like I Got You Babe. I think everybody does. But when they got together and started doing music in the 70s, I liked it. And this is the only album I have by the pair of them. It's 1971's All I Ever Need Is You, or 72, excuse me. This had their final their final two top 40 hits, the title track, All I Ever Need Is You, and A Cowboy's Work Is Never Done. This one, again, from Columbia House. It's in lousy shape because I was like 8 or 9 when I got it. But I did recently, as I showed on the Kirkham Report, pick up a brand new 2018 reissue, limited to 1,200 copies on 180-gram vinyl. Sounds amazing. Great job of recreating that 1970s era Cap label. This album is great. I mean, it's definitely got some really good stuff on it. In addition to the 2 singles, there's also their version of Here Comes That Rainy Day Feeling, More Today Than Yesterday, Crystal Clear Muddy Waters, United We Stand, which I always like their version better than Brotherhood of Man. I Love What You Do, With the Love I Gave You, You Better Sit Down Kids, a new version of Cher's earlier hit, We'll Watch the Sun coming up, and Somebody. Terrific, terrific album, and definitely an album of its time. Today, I don't know if people would go for this kind of stuff if it was new. And, oh, this is a ragged sleeve. I need to trim that. It's a terrific album, and it deserves to be remembered. I was very surprised when I saw the reissue, and that's why I grabbed it. That, and it was on sale for $12, so I wasn't going to pass that up because normally it's $25. They were terrific together, and especially in the 70s. I did not get the last album they did, which had their version of When You Say Love, which was their final Hot 100 hit. That later became When You Say Bud, the Budweiser jingle. And it was a great song. They were terrific together while they were together, and they definitely had chemistry out the wazoo. Now, of the later stuff, I don't have any of it on vinyl. I do have, as I said, I did buy Heart of Stone. I bought It's a Man's World. I did not get Believe. I got one of the other albums from the early 2000s, I've forgotten which one, and Dancing Queen, the ABBA album, because she completely reinvented ABBA for herself. Love her version of Gimme, 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 A Man After Midnight. Her version of Dancing Queen is terrific. That was the last album she did, so it's been about 5 years since she put one out. And that album is one of her best, because I first heard her do ABBA. Of course, she played Grandma in here, Mamma Mia, Here I Go Again. I'm sorry, Cher is supposed to be Meryl Streep's mother? Really? They're the same age, or right around the same age. They're not that much different. They played roommates in Silkwood, one of Cher's first big films, and they were friends ever since. But having her play Grandma, that was weird. But she did Fernando, and Kim cries every time it plays because she loves that movie. And of course, she's discovering that the houseman at the villa where they are, played by, is that Al Pacino? No, not Al Pacino. Andy Garcia is her old lover, Fernando. Very plot-oriented, very ABBA movie, jukebox musical sounding plot. But it was a terrific job, and she ended up doing a whole album of stuff, and that one is just terrific. But I really think, as a whole body of work, Cher has some amazing stuff. Now, there are admittedly a couple I haven't heard. I didn't hear everything she did on those hard-to-find things from the 70s. Haven't heard all of Black Rose. Haven't heard, never heard Almond and Woman, which I heard was terrible, and I stayed away from it. Not being a particularly huge fan of Greg Allman's solo stuff either. Midnight Rider, yes, but that's about it. Most of her stuff in the 80s I've heard at least once, but the late 80s and early 90s I picked up quite a few on CD, and then later in the 2000s she had that one album come out only through her fan club, not commercial. I've not heard that, and I would love to at some point. Cher is an amazing performer. I mean, just the fact that here she is in her mid-70s, she's still touring, she's still doing Vegas residencies, and I mean, considering she had her first retirement tour almost 20 freaking years ago, that's crazy. Her music, though, has been a big influence on me, and I have loved, especially the singles. Dark Lady and has always been, they did an animated bit for the Sonny and Cher show when it was out, and I always thought that was a great little bit. They did one for Melanie's, it was the same people that did the video for Melanie's Brand New Key, with the animation style stuff, and it was really well done. But I always thought Dark Lady would make a great film plot, and same with Train of Thought, which those two songs are very connected. And I Saw a Man and a Dance with His Wife. All three of those came from the same album. I should pick it up, Dark Lady. I should pick up the album because I love all three of those songs. And I always thought that I Saw a Man and He Danced with His Wife was very poignant. Every woman I've known, from my mother to Kim, doesn't like this song. She says the woman seems too, dependent on this man that cheated on her and left her, and God help him, and all that, that's how it is. And I understand that point of view when you hear it. Of course, we could talk forever about Kim's reaction to Jolene. We're not going to do that. But in any case, it's no wonder Cher has been a star for 50 plus years. She is just an amazing performer. She has an amazing general following. She has a particularly huge following in the LGBTQ community, because she is so supportive of that because of her child, who was Chastity, now Chaz Bono. They have all of her albums, all of her songs have proven they are a true test of time. You can still hear the stuff she did in the 60s on oldies radio with Sonny. Not so much the solo stuff, except maybe Bang Bang. You don't hear You Better Sit Down, Kids, or some of the other, or her version of Alfie, which was in the American cut of the movie. Those don't appear as often. But you'll still hear Bang Bang. You'll still hear The Beat Goes On and I Got You, Babe. And if you listen to 70s oldies, you'll usually hear at least Dark Lady and Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. Half Breed is a bit un-PC at this point. It was then, in all honesty, but now it has particularly on PC parts about it. And you never hear "I Saw a Man and He Danced with His Wife" or "Train of Thought" or "Living in a House Divided" or "Way of Love," and you should. I mean, "Way of Love," one of the best love songs of all time. Cher's performance, amazing. And I mean, she's talking about, it's not a love song, it's actually an anti-love song, because she's talking of giving advice to someone who, after having her man leave, and this woman has already been through that and is giving her advice on it. It's quite a powerful song. What you want to do is spend time just sitting back and listening to Cher's stuff. Don't limit yourself to the singles. The singles are great, particularly the stuff in the 70s, and again from 87 to about 92, and then again from 95 for One on One and the whole It's a Man's World album, and then Believe and Strong Enough and the ones that came out then. Fantastic stuff. But listen to the album tracks. The album tracks are phenomenally good, especially if she's doing a cover of a song you're familiar with, like A Song for You, like Never Been to Spain, like All I Ever Need Is, like Here Comes That Rainy Day Feeling Again with Sonny. They're different from the ones that you're used to hearing, but you will like them. I guarantee it. If you're a Cher fan, you will like them. Cher is a showman, a show person, a showwoman. She is almost an EGOT. She has an Emmy, Grammy, and Oscar. She doesn't have a Tony, but she has tons of other awards, and she's earned every single one of them. She's phenomenal as a singer, as an actress, as a songwriter. She's terrific, and there's a reason why people love her all over the world, because she's freaking Cher. Enough said, right? You don't need to say much more. It's Cher. It's going to be good 99% of the time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. And if you have, thank you. I really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to share out to your social media so other people can find this show and all the other stuff I do. And don't forget to leave a comment. I love hearing from you, and I'd love to hear what your memories of Cher are from this one. I will always love Cher. She is just fantastic. If I were hard-pressed to pick a favorite song, it would probably be Dark Lady, followed by I Saw a Man, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and Believe. Although I really love her version of Our Day Will Come, too, from the 60s. She's just an amazing performer, and she will always be a part of my life. And hopefully she'll continue to release new stuff as she goes through, because she hasn't stopped yet. And she takes breaks, long breaks sometimes. It's been 5 years. But I bet it'll be another year. It'll be another year or two before we get another great collection from her. And I can't wait. And I hope you can't wait too. For influencers, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and TKR Video Central. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon. Ciao, baby.